do you think he should not have been banned from all these platforms?
I do think that if you are a private company, right? I do think, and this is where you run into this problem. Like, I don't know if these tech companies were government utilities, would that decrease people's likelihood of being banned? I don't know, right? So I understand the benefit of them being treated like public utilities and people thinking they have the right to a Twitter. I don't know. I have very little confidence. I mean, the government's trying to roll out a vaccine in California, and we vaccinated like 5 people. I mean, in terms of what we need to do in the state, right? Yeah. So maybe if it was a government utility, I do think someone like Alex Jones, like there should be some process. So if you're going to get rid of someone, they should have a way to defend themselves. There should be more democratic process that you can go through than just being unilaterally taken off something. But like, then you run into you're like, am I going to say that everyone deserves? No, if you're threatening or harassing people or threatening to kill them, publishing their private information, if you're committing crimes on these platforms, obviously the people that own these platforms are going to be like, we're not going to allow this to happen. So I understand that there is a line, right? There is some, like people that say there's no line aren't really thinking. Like there is a line. Mm-hmm. I just don't, that line seems to be moving all the time, and it seems to be a very hard thing to police. But I don't think you can remove a guy off everything. And then also bank accounts won't give him debit cards or credit cards. I don't know if you talked to him about that, but like, there were financial institutions that were refusing to let him, park his money there. So, I mean, it really does get pretty terrifying pretty quickly.
Probably without any transparency from those companies. So you're right. There, it feels like there should be a process of just having for him to defend himself.
I think there needs to be a process for people to defend themselves. I every day I wake up and I go, is something I said in a video going to get taken out of context? Is somebody going to get angry? Is somebody going to be, I say wild stuff because that's what makes me laugh. That's what makes my friends laugh. And that's what makes my audience laugh. So I never, ever, people, whatever political side you come down on, I think if you make your living speaking, it's always interesting to me if you are pro the deplatforming. That's odd.
It's interesting to consider kind of a jury context to where, there's transparency about why your video about bombing Disney World might be taken down. Like it gets taken down, and then there is it's almost like creating a little court case, a mini court case, and not in the legal sense, but in the public sphere. And then people should be able to have, you pick representatives of our current society and have a discussion about that and make a real vote. Just have like jury locks himself up in a discussion. That kind of process might be necessary. Right now, what happens is Twitter is completely, first of all, they're just mostly not aware of everything they're doing. There's too much stuff, but the stuff they're aware about, they make the decision in closed doors, the meetings, and without any transparency to the rest of the company, actually, but also transparency to the rest of the world. And so, and then all they say is we're making these decisions because the people, they use things like violence. So violence equals bad, and if this person is quote unquote inciting violence, therefore that gives us enough reason to ban them without any kind of process. It's interesting. I'm torn on the whole thing. If it was indeed, there's no transparency about it, but if Parler was indeed inciting violence, like if there was brewing of violence, potential violence where, thousands of people might die because of some kind of riot, like this is the scary thing about mob, about when a lot of people get together, who are good people, like legitimately good people that love this country, that don't see enemies yet around them. But if they get excited together and there's guns involved,
it's a problem.
And then some cop gets nervous and shoots one person, another person shoots the cop, and then there's a lot of shooting involved. And then it goes from 5 people dying in the Capitol to thousands of people dying in the Capitol.
Well, in fairness, to defend the people at the Capitol, they didn't shoot the cop. They bludgeoned him to death with a fire extinguisher.
Yes.
So I do want to just kind of put that out as a defense of them. Listen, I'm sure there was some wild shit going on Parler, and I think here's the problem, right? There's a lot of people that just want to go on these sites and say they want to kill everyone.
Yeah.
And the problem is, at what point do you shut them all down? Like, I think a lot of people are just living in a world where they're powerless. Yeah. They don't have any political power. They don't have any economic power, right? They can't throw their money around. They don't have health care. Their job security isn't great. They might be living in a community that doesn't have the resources they would like it to have. They're not happy and thrilled. And then they have these sites where they can go on and just say, man, I'd like to fucking burn it all down. And distinguishing a guy blowing off steam and saying wild stuff from a genuine threat is a very hard thing to do. Like I've threatened to kill. I got banned from Airbnb. I threatened to kill the people that banned me comedically. Yeah, comedically. This is a joke. I'm not going to kill you. Yeah, this is a joke because I'm blowing off steam and I'm angry. Do you know how many people that my dad's like, I'm gonna fucking kill this guy. My mom's like, I'm gonna fucking kill. Yeah, and they were talking about each other, but none of it ever happened. But we should be. I think you have to create a space for people to threaten to overthrow the government. Yeah. As long as they don't violently do it. Yeah. Like, I mean, does that make any sense? Like, I mean, as long as they're not going to go hurt innocent people, what are you going to do? Like, there's so many people out there that's why a lot of these things, like, 4chan, these sites, a lot of people going on there, they just want to say the most fucked up shit because it's the thing that gives them, they can laugh or they can release steam. And it is immature. It is stupid. It's not productive. It's not, but at the end of the day, if you're not going to give people health insurance, you got to give them something. It's like when someone in this country dies that everyone disagrees with, right? Political figure, media figure. A lot of people dance on their grave online. And then people goes, and the other side will always do it. Like if a conservative dies and everyone goes, great. Conservatives goes, this is grotesque that you, and then when RBG dies, they all have parties and the conservatives go, great. You have to let people in this country enjoy the deaths of their enemies. Yeah, you do because they don't have much else. Again, if you gave them other things, you might say, guy, you can go get a knee operation. Why don't you stop? Yeah. But if they're working for shit wages and you haven't figured out a way to treat them, treat their cancer diagnosis, and they don't like, I mean, life, you gotta derive pleasure from something, right?
It's an interesting point that anger is a good valve, like if your life is suffering, that there's something very powerful about anger, but I still have hope that it doesn't have to be. I mean, that kind of channeling into anger that then becomes hate led us into a lot of troubles in human history. Yes. So you have to be careful empowering people too much in that anger, especially I think I understand why people were nervous about Parler, about Twitter and so on.
Sure, yeah.
Because all that shit talking about violence was now paired with let's get together at this location. This was a new thing. Like, it's not just being on whatever platform talking shit. It's saying we're going to, in physical space, meet. And then all these platforms got nervous. Well, what happens when all these shit talkers, all these angry people that are just letting off steam meet in a physical space? And there was probably overreach, almost definitely overreach, but I can understand why they were nervous.
I agree. There doesn't seem to be, and this is when Trump got elected, and when you have like, whatever you have, right? Whether you have riots in Portland and Seattle, where you have the Antifa people doing crazy things, you have like, the people storming the Capitol. There never seems to be a ton of an examination of why these ideas are becoming popular. Right. Why are people so angry? Yeah. What is leading people to this? Yes. Why are we here? Yes. What about their lives is to the point where they need to show up at these places? And now obviously there's always going to be people on the fringe. There'll always be the mentally unwell. There'll always be people that want to destroy society. But when you look at how popular long discredited things, whether it's fascism, totalitarian communism, all of these things are like, why are they back? Why are they back in a big way? And why are people so fed up with the status quo that they're finding, solace in the most extreme, discredited theories of how to run and operate societies, theories that have led to deaths of a lot of people. So to me, I'm like, if those people at the Capitol, yes, if they were going to work, if there's, if they were able to go out and drink at Chili's, if they were able to get a fucking checkup, right? Like if their job paid a little bit better. And I'm not saying that this is all the reason, right? I'm sure that there's a lot of people there that are doing quite well and they're still nuts. But like the anger and the rage that's boiling to the surface of this society, does it come from the fact that across the board, people in very different areas and with very different political beliefs feel like they are being fucked over and there's nothing they can do about it? That's what the baseline to me. They look at the people that run the country and run the world, whether they're tech titans, the guys that you talk to, or whether they're people that run the government, whether they're people that run large banks, large media companies, the people that have created this kind of, infrastructure that everyone lives in. These people are incredibly powerless. And when you push people to that point, logically, sadly, and unfortunately, the next thing does seem to be violent.